Hi everyone, we are back to you from the Gartner conference, this time with Jesse Wolfson, my friend from Domo. And I've been really impressed with Domo for a very long time because they have brought analytics to the business user. Jesse, what do you do at Domo and what is Domo all about?
I lead technology partnerships at Domo, Arjit. Been at Domo for around 4.5 years. Fundamentally, I used to be a customer of Domo's, and so for those of you who don't know Domo, it's a cloud-based data platform. It's really a brilliant forward-thinking platform in terms of enabling you to get the data that matters to your business, put it into a central place, analyze and interpret that, and what's really powerful about Domo is then build data products, data apps on top of that data so you can action the data that matters to your business.
And it's all about things that matter to your business, isn't it?
It starts with that, Arjit, right? Like the premise and our belief as a company, and really it started with our founder, is that you start with the end in mind. What is the output that you're trying to achieve? What are your objectives? And therefore, what data do you need to connect to and integrate into a single place so that you can then activate it?
I can't stress this enough, people. If you're not starting with end in mind, why the heck are you going through that analytics or AI journey? If you don't start with end in mind, where are you going? You're just going to get lost on the way. So what are your key imperatives when you think about what we are doing?
Well, what excites me about Aible is that you've recognized that AI has a tendency to fail when it doesn't move fast enough, right? And we're talking today about an AI BI integration imperative. And the reason that it's an imperative is because you need to get the insights that are so well done and automated through your system into a place where the business can act. And that's where I think Domo has tremendous value to offer to our shared customers, right? It's enabling the insight to get to the business user. Because when we think about what's happening today, Arjit, I think there's sort of three big reasons why AI projects tend to fail. And it starts fundamentally with they take too long, right? And if when things take 9 months, 12 months, you sort of have three outcomes. You don't get the impact that you need because the information that you are capturing to predict and optimize is no longer relevant, right? You're not realizing the operational efficiency that automation promises because you're taking so long in the cycle that the promise of automation is it's not that it's not realized in itself, but over the course of a project, there's too much waste. And ultimately, when you start something now and then you wait 9 months, a year and a half, the people in your organization become demotivated.
Yeah.
Right? You're not only the person who asked for the initiative who's the business leader, but the data scientist who started that project, who may well have left 6 months into it, right? That is not the promise of AI. The promise is to automate an insight and get it to the person who needs to make a decision and do it fast.
Absolutely, and it's funny, we are standing in front of a wall talking about 30-day case studies where we got customers to success in 30 days. This one from Vertiv, 4 projects getting done in 28 days. To the point you're making, when you can do so many different kinds of projects in 28 days, yeah, that's speed to value.
And that's what, that's remarkable for me. And as a former marketer, I used to lead a marketing analytics team at a large North American bank. One of the things that we struggled with, and that I know our customers are struggling with, is you begin a journey of trying to optimize. You want to get to this optimized stage of smarter predictions, but by the time you've got them, and let's take like a marketing campaign, what's the point of trying to optimize a campaign in the spring of 22, in the winter of 23?
Yeah.
Right? It needs to be done fast. The fact that you're able to achieve that kind of speed is game changing for our customers and for the market as a whole.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about what we are doing together with Domo. So what are we doing with Sense, Explore, Optimize, for example?
Well, the way that we're thinking about it is sort of 4 key principles. And we talked a little bit about starting with the business in mind. And really the way I'd like to think of it is not only starting with the business in mind, but starting with the data that we already know is important to the business, right? And what Domo is doing is it's bringing that data in and relating that to KPI we know matters. So when we integrate Domo and Aible, we start with a Domo data warehouse and a set of data that isn't necessarily big, but it's broad and related to metrics that matter to the organization. And that lets you know that you've got data at your disposal that is clean and meaningful. What you don't know yet, because you haven't yet applied Aible on top of it, is what components of that data are going to be useful for making that incremental prediction, that optimization choice. And that's really what I love about your Sense capability, is that it's diagnosing the data in Domo to tell you it's not all worth looking at from an AI perspective, but this chunk is, and here's the quality of that data, so it breeds trust in the steps that then follow.
Exactly right. And then we get to the world of Explore, where you're looking at variable combinations and looking at the net effects. This is not just correlation, because you have broad data, as you were talking about. You need to know what matters. So how does that fit in?
Well, Domo as a capability is meant to be analytical in this stage, right? You're getting data in. Now you want to empower a business user. You know, some people call it like a citizen data scientist, but you want to make it simple for a user to explore the information that's going along this value chain. And so within the context of Domo, you want to capitalize on Aible's capability here to start doing some what if explorations on the hypotheses that got you there. So if we were using a sales operations use case, you want to know within the context of that use case, is it the number of people? Is it a tenure issue? Is it something to do with management? Is it a location? And this ability to pick and choose and visualize the different possibilities is really valuable to that user and intuitive.
Absolutely. And what is happening in the world of Aible is millions of possibilities have already been explored. Think of it as millions of hypotheses have already been explored. So when Jesse, you're talking of the user going in and searching for something, they're getting a test of that hypothesis instantaneously because it's already been evaluated.
Yeah, and last night I was looking at some of your capabilities because I'm getting excited just about the range. And one of the things that I think some customers fear is that AI is black box.
Yes.
And that you can't apply your logic and your context to the models. You get a recommendation and you need to just trust it. And what I love about this is as you go from explore to optimize, you start allowing that user to override, interpret, add some constraints and context to the situation so that the next step is informed by their business. It's not just a wonderful list of 90 plus models, it's the ability to interject some of that context into the output.
You're giving me goosebumps because our tagline is I am able for that precise reason. We didn't want it to be AI as disempowering to the human. It is I, the human. I am able through the power of AI. So you're giving me goosebumps because that is the entire point of Aible. It's augmentation. It's giving people superpowers.
And so what I think we'd love to show you, and we're about to do just in a sales use case example, is that once you're getting to this stage and you're getting these insights that really enable you as the consumer of the AI product to make a recommendation, the point that we started with is you're not going to succeed unless that recommendation gets made and visible in an intuitive way to the audience, let's say the executive leadership that's responsible for acting. And really that's where Aible and Domo come together brilliantly.
Right, getting that right information at the right moment where they already work. And I've heard from customer after customer of Domo, they live in Domo. That's where they start their day. So this is going to be fantastic. Shall we go to Alex and see what he's cooked up for us?
Yeah,
Alex?
that'd be exciting.
Well, thank you very much, Arjit and Jesse, for that presentation. I'd like to just begin the demonstration within the Domo platform. So this is showing how Domo can connect to essentially any type of data and bring it into a centralized location here. As you can see, we've loaded in a few different data sets. And then what we do utilizing Aible Sense is we establish which of these data sets are actually ready for analysis. And so the Aible Sense part of the tool will go in and do a lot of automatic data cleanup that typically would take a person quite a bit of time. And then what it does is it establishes which data sets are actually ready for analysis or not by producing this data readiness score. So this is a score between 0 and 10, where a 0 would indicate that there's just not enough predictors in this data set to continue, while a 10 out of 10 would indicate this looks a little bit too good to be true. And so once we have established what the data readiness is on certain data sets, we can then transition to the augmented analytical part of the tool, which is Aible Explore. And so the use case we're going to look at today is a sales use case. So what we're looking at is historical sales information, and we've told the platform to give us the patterns related to deals that we won or not. And so what's happening here in Aible Explore is the tool has, in this case, done 275,000 combinations automatically, and the patterns that it's surfacing to us on the right are those where a certain variable or certain combination of variables has resulted in a unique and distinct impact on our outcome. If the hex navigation is a little bit intense, we can always flip over to the easy view here, and we can simply search for any insight that we find valuable. So I could look for example, lead source events, for example, and then I can type that in, and Aible presents me with all of the relevant patterns for that variable of interest in this case. And so now that the tool has gone through and found a bunch of insights, how do we now marry this back into the context of our day-to-day and be able to present this information in a manner that we will be able to take action on? So what we're flipping over to now is an example of a Domo dashboard. And so what we have here is an example sales dashboard that an average Domo user may be using on an everyday basis. And we've augmented the BI images with this Aible data evaluation to confirm that indeed the data that is behind some of these images is actually ready for predictive analysis as well. Furthermore, we can have that side-by-side view of the BI images on the left with the AI predictive images on the right. And as you can see, I've just selected lead source here, and you'll notice that we get Aible validating that indeed most models do agree that when, in this case, when lead source is equal to events, the models agree that this is typically results in a reduction in your likelihood of a sale. Furthermore, we can get into the actual forecast as well as the Aible pursue and nurture recommendations. Now, we can see this would be a static view that a typical BI user may be investigating of looking at those top 20 pipeline deals, and we can again augment that with the Aible predictive power and predictive modeling by establishing, for example, if I select one of these deals, whether Aible's actually recommending you pursue, as well as why Aible is recommending you pursue. So showing those top model drivers, as well as monitoring whether that end recommendation was actually followed or not. And so you can see we can create dynamic BI dashboards that are supplemented by the predictive power of AI. And now back to Jesse and Arjit.
I can't believe what they did. This is cool. What do you think of that?
No, it's phenomenal, right? And ultimately, there's the ease of use, which always excites me, right? Making things easy and possible and relatable. But it's the speed at which we're able to operate together, which is really fantastic.
Absolutely, and that focus on what is it that the business user is trying to achieve. This is not AI for the sake of AI. This ain't a science project. This is how do you tangibly create business value quickly in a way that your users can already consume. Thank you, JC. This has been a fantastic collaboration, and I look forward to seeing what we do together next.
I love it. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Thank you. We have to hold on.